Welcome to Engage Your Tribe, a podcast about the art and science of audience engagement. I'm Jeremy Shere, and my guest is Richard Dark, VP of Global Marketing at NextGate. Richard, it's great to see you again. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Great to be here.
So before we jump into our discussion, just a quick little commercial for my podcast production company. Engage Your Tribe is brought to you by Tribal Knowledge Podcasting. We are a full-service B2B podcasting agency, and we help brands just like yours use podcasting as a fun and efficient way to have authentic conversations with the people you need to get to know to grow your business. And you can learn more on our website at tribknowledge.com. Okay, so Richard, back to you. Tell us a little bit about your background in marketing and about NextGate.
Yeah, sure. So I started out actually in the advertising agency world as a graphic designer, working my way up to creative director, and really had a lot of clients in the healthcare space, and then had the opportunity to kind of jump over, if you like, into the corporate side of things, where the majority of my career has been involved with working with insurance companies and provider networks, hospital networks, so on and so forth. And about 9 months ago, I joined NextGate as their VP of Global Marketing. And what really kind of excited me about NextGate was they're a company that's actually been around for almost 25 years, but they had this very kind of entrepreneurial mindset, like you see in a startup. And that was very infectious for me. And that's really what helped me kind of make the decision to jump over and join the organization. NextGate, as an organization, what we do is we really have a solution that we developed ourselves called an EMPI. And that stands for Enterprise Master Patient Indexer. That's a long-winded way of saying what we do is we help organizations deduplicate their data records. So a lot of healthcare networks will have EHR systems, whether it's Epic or Cerner or a combination of those or another vendor. And we work with them to help really deduplicate that data to help them get to what we call is a singular best record, which is a piece of information that has no other duplicates connected to it.
Okay. And I know when we talked a week or so ago, you told this to me, and that sounded really exciting because I think like anyone who's just ever been to the doctor, you always have to fill out all those forms. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've done this a million times. This is the only place that makes me fill out a paper form. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. So services like NextGate, I think, would be welcomed by pretty much everybody.
Absolutely. And you actually hit it on the head. I mean, we realize that there's a huge patient need in the community around they're not hugely stressful things, but having to fill out paper forms and things like that every time you go to the doctor it's just not a good use of time. So we're actually focusing our efforts now on that consumer base and really looking to the future of what we're calling decentralized data, right? So centralized data is obviously something that's within an environment and it's owned by the environment. And data is a currency really in today's world. And what we've realized is that the missing element to all of that is the consumer, right? Because if I was to say, well, Jeremy, who knows you better than you? Well, it's no one, right? You know you, right? So having that ability and then putting on top of that a consumer application that I can't share too much about because it's still in development right now, but having a consumer application that directly affects the experience that you would have as a consumer with your provider is something we believe is a game changer. So we're really excited about the future.
Yeah, I think my that definitely would be. I mean, my favorite one filling out those forms is when they ask for your insurance information and they're like, the address of your insurance provider. I'm like, I don't know the address.
Who knows?
Do they even have an address? I don't know. Who cares? Like, this is ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you've been with the company for about 9 months and you were brought in as one of the first, maybe the first sort of professional marketing person to like build out a modern day marketing team.
Right.
So what did marketing look like before you arrived and how have you gone about modernizing things since you've been there?
So I think the primary focus of what we were doing in the past was very much based in thought leadership. And the founders of NextGate are software engineers. They're very intelligent, very intellectual people who really understand that environment. And as with anything, when it comes to sales and marketing, you tend to work and relate with what. So a lot of the outbound marketing that we were doing was very much targeted to other software engineers and people in the IT world, and which was great, right? Obviously, we were doing something right because we've been in business for that long and we've got some great customers. But the one thing that I saw very quickly was we were relying on those software engineers and IT folks who are not salespeople to take our solution and then walk it into a leadership office and say, hey guys, we need this. And because of all these algorithms and everything else, this is why we should buy it. And unfortunately, even in the healthcare world, the people who are connected to budget and have authority to spend money, they're not necessarily technically acute to what's being offered. Right. So we really had to turn our strategy on its head and change the focus of our audience from the IT software engineer mindset to business development, marketing, consumer engagement, all of those areas of an organization that would directly benefit from the work that we're doing.
Okay. And I assume that model of marketing to software engineers has worked to a certain extent. Like you said, the company's been around for 25 years, done pretty well. But I know healthcare has evolved during that time and gotten more complicated, and the money is more complicated. So, okay, so how do you go about then developing new personas and kind of testing them out? In other words, those people that the software engineers have to go to and say, hey, we need this. How do you know who those people are? And then once you get a sense of that, how do you go about strategizing around connecting with them?
So the first thing we do is really, we don't have what I would call a traditional marketing and advertising channel, right? We're strictly a B2B company. So we've really focused in on digital marketing as the main source of outbound marketing that we do. So it's a matter of, number one, really understanding the trends and really listening to the marketplace to hear some of the problems that our potential customers are facing, right? And all around this topic of digital identity, data duplication. But then it's a matter of us thinking about, well, if we were able to help them fix that problem, what does that look like? And we found we've actually had great success in building personas around, again, VP, director level and above, anybody that's directly connected or engaged to a consumer. So, and that's a pretty big gamut as well, right? If you're looking at a hospital network, for example, that could be somebody in charge of business development at the clinic level, right? They're not necessarily developing or thinking about campaigns for a consumer, but the consumer is definitely the beneficiary of whatever work they do, whether they're opening a new clinic, looking at what services are offered by a new clinic, and all of those determinations can be directly affected by having 100% accurate data of the community that you're trying to serve. So we look at that as really the conceptualization of how we approach marketing. And there's nothing wrong with having a little humor. So we post videos out there to highlight some actual real life discrepancies. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can see some of the stuff that we've done. But to give you a couple of examples, we had one where you may have somebody that has the same name, right? So a name like Sean Ryan, for example, right? Could be a male, could be a female.
Right.
You don't know just from the name. Is it spelled S-E-A-N? Is it spelled S-H-A-W-N? Right? Look, this is, but you know, real life reality, something that actually happened is somebody's EOB or explanation of benefits, as we call it, got crossed. So you had two people with the same sounding name getting each other's EOB.
Oh, whoops.
Actually happened, right? So that's a whoops, right?
Yeah.
A couple, man and woman, male and female couple, the husband got a notification from a clinic that he was due for a new pap smear. Well, that's something a man doesn't need to have, you know?
Typically not, right?
Exactly. But because his wife and himself had the same first initial in their first name, it was crossed over. And again, duplicate records, inaccurate data, right? All of these little things. And you may think, oh, that's not a big deal. I'm sure he just called and they got it figured out. Oh, yeah. But look at the halo effect, right?
Yeah.
How many extra hours of customer service time was there on the phone? What did it cost to adjust the data record, right? There's all of these little things that add up, which over time is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at those type of things, and that's how we approach our marketing and build out those personas.
Okay. So, and I'd say too, if I got a letter and it was like, you're due for your pap smear, I mean, I might be like, okay, how funny. But also in my mind, I'm like, do these people know what they're doing? But it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence if that happens a lot or even more than once, right? So you don't want that to happen ever. So, okay. So you address those particular pain points. How do you learn about those pain points in the first place? So you said it's like careful listening and learning, but how do you do that? How do you find those things in the first place in order to build those personas?
Well, a lot of it comes from relationship. It's very interesting to me when people, or when I'm in discussion groups and we talk about advertising. So if you really think about it, the world of advertising has come full circle. So in the beginning, decades ago, right, advertising was word of mouth. Well, guess what? It's actually come back to that. That's the world we live in today. It's just done through a social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
So getting involved. So for me and my team, we get involved in LinkedIn discussion groups. We get involved in different marketing automation discussion groups, healthcare provider conferences, online webinars, any and all outlets where we can really hear what's going on in the marketplace. And I refer to some members of my team as they're really investigative journalists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what they're doing, because they're going out there and really kind of putting their ear to the road and listening to what's going on. But there's no.
Yeah, I like that analogy as a form.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a lot of hard work, but there's no magic pill. There's no magic button. You've just got to go out there and dig it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that analogy as a former journalist. I think there's a lot of crossover. And I think, in fact, sometimes journalists can make good marketers because it's all about listening in on an ongoing conversation. And then even for content creation, right? That some of the best content is not just, well, here's what we think, our company, but here's what we're hearing from everybody else. So in discussion with these experts out in the field, we're able to kind of report back. And that makes total sense. So how do you know when you're developing a persona, how do you know when to pivot and to say, okay, this kind of persona that we thought was going to lead us in the right direction towards the people we need to talk to turns out not to be? Like, how do you know that? What are the signs that you need to adjust?
Normally, it's the engagement that we get from the campaign. So, as I said, we utilize a couple of different SaaS platforms for our marketing automation and CRM database, things like that. But because we have what I would call very hyper-focused account-based marketing campaigns, we can very quickly see if an audience is responding to a certain type of message. So the first thing we do is we'll look at the report, and we look at those really at a weekly effort. So it's not daily because there's not enough data to really do anything on a daily basis, but weekly we look at the data that we have. And in some cases, it might be a different mix of the message. It might be a different message or it could be a certain message that's not resonating. It could be the wrong audience for that particular organization. There's a lot of things that come into discussion and how we approach things, but sometimes simply pivoting to a new message wins over.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that's an iterative process.
Very
get
much.
Stuff out there, test it out, get the feedback, as you said, adjust, and then see how it goes. So, right. Okay. So to broaden things out a little bit, what's a marketing trend or a channel or a strategy that you think is maybe a little bit overrated?
This is one that comes up a lot, actually. And especially when we're talking to customers and vendors as well, where they'll kind of dictate one or the other. I'm not sure that there is one thing better than another or one thing worse than another. I think a lot of it depends on what is it you're actually trying to do. Mm-hmm. So for our line of business, we're very much focused on digital identity, data accuracy, right? All of those things. But I'm not necessarily thinking about, well, if I'm am I going to get better results with an email-based campaign or a social media video campaign or a general awareness campaign? I like to make sure that we have, I guess, for me, it's looking at trends within the channels. Mm-hmm. So for our brand, I have constant messaging just being put out there. And I view that as a simple channel, which basically affects the awareness and the image of our brand. So putting those two things together at a very high level, pushing it out there to just say, hey, if you're thinking about an EMPI, whether it's to update a legacy system, whether it's to implement one, whether you may think you do or do not need an EMPI system, talk to us. We can definitely give you all the information you need. But then the next level down is that more targeted account-based marketing. And I would say we've had more success with focused LinkedIn campaigns that directly connect to email marketing campaigns, which offer what we call premium content. Mm-hmm. So as an example, we would build out a campaign. It would have a landing page with a simple demo form that people would fill out the information, but they're filling that information because we're giving them access to premium content, which may be a case study, it may be a white paper. It could be our buyer's guide tool. We've had great success giving this tool to a lot of potential customers because it really helps them kind of understand and gauge what they're looking. One of the things that I would say, though, is a definite trend for us is helping potential customers understand or find out things that they didn't know. A lot of customers that we talk to, they're like, yeah, our legacy, our EMPI system is pretty old. We need to update it. And I guess we need to be in the cloud. Everybody's in the cloud. We need to be in the cloud. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Do you need to be in the cloud? Let's talk about the benefits of being in a cloud or having something that's installed on your premises, right? There's pros and cons to all of that. Mm-hmm. So for us, if you really wanted to single out a trend, I would say it's clearly listening to a customer's need and really helping them understand if that's the true need or if it might be something else.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's like next level value.
Next
Not
level
just
value.
Responding and saying, okay, you say you need this. Here you go. We can do that. But actually pushing a little bit, like the challenger model, like even challenging a little bit and say, like, well, do you really need that? Why do you think that? And then exploring it.
Well, and also helping them understand, and again, this applies to any type of marketing, especially if I'm looking to implement a new piece of software or a SaaS subscription, whatever it may be. The traditional thought of process is, right, I'm going to go out and get 3 bids. I'm going to talk to 3 different companies, get 3 bids and see where we are, which is great. And what I like to do during that process is have that conversation with a customer where they'll say to us, well, your competitor says that their magical black box is artificial intelligence. It's like, oh, AI, there's a word. Right? Yeah, there's a phrase. I need to do that. They say AI, we need them because they're AI and it's a cloud. Like, all right, but let's talk about
what does that
AI.
actually mean?
And I really break it down to, we've already agreed that your data is a currency, has high value, right? And do you really want to trust that data to a magical black box that you have no input on? Or would you rather have something that gives you full ownership and full accessibility? And again, it's in some cases, no, in some cases, yes. But, we put that information, and again, that's not during the sales process. We put that out as part of our outbound marketing, because we realize that the more open, the more transparent, the more credible we are in a marketplace, the better chances we have of securing a customer.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Really good content marketing, content that helps prospects think through their problem in a deeper way, a different way, and consider possible solutions in a different way without necessarily trying to sell them on any one particular thing. Yeah,
exactly. I'm directly connected to our sales team, as any marketing shop is. We don't even use the word sales. We actually don't even use the word presentation. When we engage with a prospective customer, we're building a relationship and we're having a conversation with them. We're not sitting down. We're not going to say, all right, guys, you are going to sit down and let us wade through 45 slides so we can show you how great we are. And then by the way, it doesn't help anybody. Right. And what we found through just through years of doing this, is once somebody has made the decision to request a demo from you, they pretty much know as much about you as they want to know. You don't have to go back into it and say, we're in 45 countries and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
Their time is valuable, and they want to really understand how can we help them with their issue. And that's really been a winning combination for us. So
yeah,
that's what
sense.
we focus on. Yeah.
I can see why. Well, Richard, a lot more we could discuss, but I'm going to let you go. So Thank you so much for a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.